Hello and welcome into another episode of A Bunch of Punts. This is the second in a special series of shows that we're calling About Punts. You may remember the first episode we had Lewis, and this week I'm joined by another pal of mine north of the border, Danzo. Danzo, how you doing, mate?
Not bad. Hello.
All good, mate. Repping that hat. Is that a new hat, mate? I'm liking that.
It's a new one. Yep, it is. It's I'm not big on this old snapback thing. I like a wee cuff on my hats, but this is I've been warned not to bend this one, so I'm kind of struggling a bit with it.
Is that what's it like at the back, mate? Is it a snap back at the back, or is it like stitched closed?
Stitched closed.
Stitched, yeah. Do you know what? This is the same one, and it probably took me about 3 or 4 times to buy one that actually fit in my head because I kept ordering the wrong size and stuff. Yeah. I see you kept the stickers on as well.
Right, stickers are on. Top and bottom couple. I've got a wee one in my mic. It was a wee extra one. I don't think it was needed. The NFL on field sticker, so that's on the mic now.
Yeah, see, I took the stickers off, mate. I didn't even realise it was a thing. I just thought, like, you don't keep stickers on a hat, but apparently it is. But you know,
it's all for the kids these days, though, isn't it? It's not for us older generation.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm not a massive cap fan. I'll be honest. I sort of wear this out and about a little bit, and sometimes you feel like a bit of a bell end type stuff. But you sort of grow into it, and it suits this kind of medium stuff. Anyway, is that the draft hat from this year? Is it all?
No, this was last season's on field hat. I think for the team.
Yeah. I think this one I saw saw Justin Fields wearing it one day, and I was like, "That's a pretty cool hat." That, and he wears that really well. So I thought I'd try and get it.
It was good. Every team had that kind of design and just mashed it with their own thing. It was good right across
it's the it's like the cancer one or something, like stand up to cancer or fight back to cancer or something. So anyway, welcome Danzo. Really looking forward to having a chat over the next sort of half an hour, 40 minutes or so. Just before we go any further, I just want to remind the listeners a little bit about how you can find us on the shows and obviously the socials. So as usual, guys, however you listen to this show at the moment, please like, subscribe, set yourself a notification, rate the show if you're listening to in podcast format, and share the show with anybody you think might enjoy what you're listening to as well. And you can find us on socials as well, on TikTok and on Instagram, and the handles at A Bunch of Punts on TikTok and at a bunch of punts podcast on Instagram. Really, really enjoying the engagement with everybody who's enjoying and commenting on our posts and that type of stuff. It's really good to sort of engage and grow our community. So thanks for everybody who's getting involved, and please continue to help us support as we grow our channel. Right, mate. Have you got yourself a drink?
Yep, I'm good.
What's
coffee though? I need to drive tonight, so I'm not on the beers like you two.
Mate, no, I'm not on the beers. I've drunk that much beer this weekend in the sun. I've got myself just an apple squash, mate. So I need to rehydrate myself. As you can see, I've burnt myself as well.
That's the other English thing. We don't call it squash up here. It's diluting juice, mate. Dilute it with water.
I need to learn all these lingos, mate. It's all coming. I'm waiting for the day that I come out with some sort of Scottish slang on the show. It'll be like a shite or something like that, and what? I just quickly hold up what you're drinking there, mate. Is that a little bit of new merch we need to sort of talk about, or
a little bit of new merch that they're not released? They've been made up. We've got one for each of us to start off with now, and we'll see how we go on in the future. But I thought it was good to get a wee bunch of Punts cup on for the podcast.
Absolutely love that, mate. Love that. Okay, cool. So we're going to start off in familiar circumstances last week with Lewis with some quick fire questions.
Okay.
Now you might remember that they're some of my own questions, but some of them have actually been pulled from the interviews that the guys have had at the Combine from various teams. So I've mixed them up from last week's, but we'll get some short, sharp answers, and then we'll have a little bit more chat about some NFL specific stuff after that. All good?
Okay. Not bad.
Okay, let's fire it away. Pretty obvious one, but favourite team?
Saints.
New Orleans Saints. First NFL memory?
Not specific, but I remember it way back when I started watching. I think it was, I can't even remember now. Was it Channel 4 or Channel 5? I'm going back a few years now, and they used to have a game on or a highlights package on, and I remember watching that and sitting back and looking back probably mid-90s here when I first seen this. Don't know, I'm guessing. And it was how hard they were hitting each other. And it was like, it just takes you aback at first. You think, that can't be real. And I just remember that was the kind of first thing I went, oh, I need to learn a bit more about this game. It's crazy, and they were, like I say, especially back then, it's a lot different to now with the rules and everything. They were hitting each other properly back then.
Absolutely. Cool, mate. We'll come on to that a little bit more in a moment. Favourite food?
Oh, now I like my food. I like all food, but keep it Italian. Probably a spaghetti bolognese or a carbonara, something like that.
Do you know what? You can't go wrong with spaghetti bolognese. You just can't go wrong with spaghetti bolognese.
It's a staple in my house.
Was it really? Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. If you played in the NFL, what position would you be?
Oh, let's go running back.
Running back?
Aye, definitely running back, I think.
Okay, cool. Your sporting GOAT?
Oh, any sport?
Any sport.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that one. I think probably looking back on Muhammad Ali and the kind of troubles he had to go through. Obviously, in his sport, he was the best or one of the best he ever done it. But I think when you look back at his struggles and what he went through to get to that point, yeah, definitely Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. I wouldn't have called that one, mate. That's good. Your best NFL memory to date?
Right. So, and obviously, there's a few of us that are we kind of grew together watching the NFL over the last 5 or 6 years, and fantasy was a big point in that. So we tend to have a wee fantasy day out, or we try to get out. And one day we were out, there was 12 or 13 years all together, a few other people joining in. And it was the day the Ravens was at a divisional game, I can't remember, but the Justin Tucker 66 yards kick.
Yeah, the historic one, yeah?
Historic one. So we were all sitting watching it, and it was kind of filtering through to everybody that, no, this is the longest ever. This is thingy. And one of the boys piped up, if he scores this, if he makes this kick, everybody on the shots. So that was it. The whole place, once he made the kick, the whole place was in uproar. We're in a quiet wee pub. There's only maybe the 13 of us and maybe half a dozen other people, and the place is absolutely bouncing now. The shots are flying. Brilliant memory for the fantasy and everybody involved. It was just a great night that night.
I absolutely love that, man. When you can get together with people that are all into the same sort of thing and just enjoy it like that, that's quality. Okay, cool. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Good man. Okay, what animal would you be? Would you describe yourself as? Sorry.
Oh, I'd be a lion all day. A lion.
Okay. Yep. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility, I think.
Okay, I'm not going to ask why, mate. We'll go. One thing you can't live without?
My PlayStation.
PlayStation. What would you rather be, cat or a dog?
Dog.
Okay, and I love the NFL because
of the show, the whole show, the entertainment, the drama, the bits and pieces, the whole thing's just amazing to watch.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we're just talking about like the schedule release next week. Like, it's just a set of dates in the diary, and we're all buzzing to talk about it and stuff.
Just talk about what games are going to be played this year. It's crazy, but everything. I mean, when you go from the draft to divisional round and everything in between, it's just constant drama all the time, and you start to throw in what the players are up to in off season and everything else involved in that. I mean, you look at Rashid Rice just now, and it's all just drama that all adds to the story. It's brilliant. I love it.
It's just always something to talk about. Like, I mean, even the quiet months of the year, considering there's only it's 18 regular games. That's 18 weeks, shall we say, not games as such. And so much to talk about in the off season. Okay, cool. Let's just go back then. So you started talking about the 90s with like your first memory, mate. Like, I've got to be honest, we're similar sort of ages and stuff. So the 90s does sound like quite old, but just tell me a bit more about that. And where's the story developed from there in terms of you getting into the NFL?
Well, I think I mentioned it before. It was early 90s, mid 90s. I probably seen it. I think it was Channel 4 or Channel 5 highlights package, one of those things. I'm round about that time of my life, kind of between 12 and 15. I kind of moved about a wee bit.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things. I was up at odd hours watching weird telly and things like that. So, probably caught some glimpses of it then, caught it where I could. it wasn't probably until, I'm going back now, so probably mid 2000s, late 2000s, that I really started to watch it on a regular basis. Trying to understand the game a lot more, understand why things are happening in the game. I think once you get that, or start to understand that, at least the kind of mechanics of the game, it helps so much to then immerse yourself even further in it once you get by that kind of first barrier. And then again, I was kind of, I watched it a lot, but I was dipping in and out. It was at that period that there wasn't a lot of people here that I knew that liked it. I kind of felt as though I was on my own. We had the whole Scottish Claymores thing as well, that I think had petered out by that point, but they tried to gain some interest in American football over here, and when that kind of died off, it kind of fell flat on its face.
Was that the NFL Europe thing, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So we had the Claymores up here that played at Hampden Park in Glasgow, actually. Back in the day, I used to work in the kind of football grounds and worked at a few of their games and things like that. So I had seen that, but again, it was very, it's the wrong way of putting it, but very hands-off watching for me. I was aware of it. I watched it when it was on, but I didn't purposely go looking for it. And then a few people that I knew locally started to get into it. I mean, like Lewis and that, when we used to play fives way back, and then we started talking NFL, and then it just kind of grew from there. Then the fantasy leagues came into it. When we started playing the fantasy leagues, that was when you really dial in on it.
Yeah.
You're looking exactly what's happening, why they're doing it, what could they be possibly doing next. Again, understanding the players a lot more, looking more into rosters and all that kind of thing. And yeah, that's when I really started. So probably the last 8 years or so, it's been really massive hardcore, staying up Thursday nights, staying up Monday nights, that kind of thing for it.
I think it's one of these sports that once it grips you, like me and Lewis were saying about this last week, there's so many different ways of getting content from the NFL, isn't there? And that's probably the big difference. Maybe, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, about how it's how you've sort of grown from it. Because back in the 90s, 2000s, probably wasn't YouTube as much anymore, or highlight packages. It might have been you had to wait till the highlight show once a week to sort of get any sort of content. Right. You couldn't get little bits in between, whereas now you can get obviously loads, can't you?
Yeah, back in the mid-90s, it was still a dial-up, mate. It was still having to, if somebody was on the phone, you couldn't go on the internet.
Yeah, I remember it well, mate.
Certainly it helps. I mean, I'm not massive. You'll know, you deal with all the social things. It's not my strongest point. But I pick up bits and pieces, but I love watching it. I really do. And I take all my information. Old school that way, listening to the commentators, listening to the stats that the commentators giving you out, putting them in some sort of relevance for what you're actually watching. And that's me. I love all that side of it.
So when you were sort of first watching it back in the night, was there any sort of players that you can remember big back then that caught your eye? Because for me, like, it was Dan Marino was a big guy, but mainly just through Ace Ventura, to be honest with you. That's like how he started. I think that's why a lot of UK fans are probably Dolphins fans personally. But like, was there sort of players that you can remember that we were like, this guy?
Not specifically. I think one of the names, or one of the more kind of marketed ones, was the Fridge. He was round about that time as well, wasn't he? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
the Dolphins were huge back then. I don't know what it was, whether it's like the kind of Jags now, where the Jags play a lot at Wembley. They tried to introduce a team to the UK and tried to tie them to it, but around about that time, it felt like there was a lot of Dolphins about. A lot of what you were seeing was Dolphins and things like that. So, you could probably pick anybody from them at that time, but my memory's not that great.
It's changed so much, the game, hasn't it? Then I got a close pal of mine, Josh, who maybe we'll get him on one day, and he's always sending me sort of like historic stuff. A bit like you, he's been a fan for years. Mm-hmm. He sent me like a YouTube video of like highlight package I think it's just from 1 year of big hits that happen in the league, and you're looking at somebody's and you're like, God, how are these guys not dead? Like nowadays it's a flag for the softest little bit of hands on, and back then it was just like crunch. People were just launching in everywhere.
It was different, and that's why I think more so back then than now, a lot of teams built on their defences. The big guys that could just crush people. Whenever they wanted and however they wanted. The rules, they've changed a lot, and a lot of them are for the better, for player safety first and foremost. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a job for these guys. They're there to make money. They're very good at what they do. So, yeah, let them get paid and be as safe as possible doing it. But it's massively changing it. It does take a little bit away from the game for me. Certainly for the reasons that it kind of struck me in the first place was the massive hits, and that's come away now. And but like I say, I've got a lot more aspects in the game now that I enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. Are you do you naturally sort of sway to one side or the other in terms of like being an offensive guy or a defensive guy when you're trying to watch, or are you more interested in one over the other, or are you just all about both sides of the ball?
I like to try and understand as much as I can in both sides, but offense is where the memories are made for me.
Yeah,
you get the big catches, you get the big runs. You know what I mean? That's what always sticks out for people. Yeah, defences are great, and seeing a big crunching tackle and the way they're set up and reading it and stuff like that is great. But yeah, they put bums in the seats for the offense, and it's the same in any sport.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. Completely agree. So you mentioned that you're hardcore, mate. You're up on a Thursday night. You're up on a Monday night. What's the household? You know, the missus, the kids. Are you locking yourself in a room and they're like, "We got to watch this again"? Are they involved? How's the family take to your fandom of it?
They're not involved. They don't really buy into the NFL like I do, but they're really good, to be honest. Sundays especially, 6 o'clock. They know 6 o'clock on a Sunday. If I'm not out watching it, I'm watching it in the house. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And don't come near me for the next 6 hours because I'm not interested. I'll sit and I'll have a game on, the live game on in Sky Sports, and I'll probably run Red Zone or something on a tablet. So I'm catching everything on the Red Zone, but I'm actually watching and listening to the main game. So
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, they generally just leave me to it, and I can do what I want. The odd time, if it's not some great games on, I've actually got a screen set up next to my PlayStation as well. I can have Red Zone on while playing the PlayStation. So that's
what the good thing about Red Zone. It's such an amazing sort of program. Anybody who just wants to get into it, check that out. But
I love that. It's a fantastic. The whole thing about it is fantastic. It's instant. It's gratifying, and it's very, very quick.
Yeah,
I can't watch the full program though. No. I feel exhausted watching it. That's why I prefer to watch a game, and I'll just pick up bits and pieces and see how other games are going on. And it could be a case that that game's starting to get interesting now. Mine's is lagging a wee bit. I'll switch it over. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
My missus is the same. 6 o'clock on Sunday. She's like, "Oh, for God's sake!" I'm just like, just leave me alone. But like the Bears, I don't know about the Saints, but like the Bears, they're lucky. Like they're 9 most of the time. They're 6 o'clock kickoffs. Like same for the Saints. Yeah.
No, Saints are terrible. Saints are generally the late games.
Okay.
You might get the odd 9 o'clock one, but yeah, they're generally late games. It's tough to actually keep watching the Saints.
Yeah.
I watch the highlight packages more of the Saints than what I do of anything else.
That's that problem. That 1 o'clock game is like it's an absolute killer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough, especially when you've been at it for 6-7 hours already.
Definitely. And what about like the rest of your week? How do you sort of keep up to date with your knowledge and skilling yourself and preparing yourself for podcasts and stuff? What's your sort of, do you have a routine, or is it just?
Not specifically a routine. I mean, from my own kind of research, I tend to I keep it light. Do you know what I mean? If I've got a start, I'll have the start, but it's just basically hanging there with no kind of context. I'll have my own context in my head, but I like to just bullet point things, have the actual factual matter there, and then if it comes up, I'll bring it out and use what I need. But other than that, it's the same as anybody. I'm just listening, watching. I listen to a few podcasts now. It's a recent thing for me, though, is the whole podcast. I mean, I was aware of them, but I never listened to any regularly. But now I've started to listen to a couple more regularly now. But I like to read. The information goes in me when I read it. Reading it, reading kind of articles and things like that. I enjoy doing that. And then other than that, for the podcast, it's just head down and talk about Mints, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, how did you settle on the Saints?
So, for years and years of not having a team, and I kind of sat down and thought to myself, I'm not going any further than this, or I'm not having as much enjoyment in this because I don't have a team. I don't have someone to support. So I looked at all the teams and I went, how do I decide? I've got no kind of association with any of them. I've got no kind of link or anything in the background that could say this is it. So what I did is I went and pulled out all the places I would like to go.
Yeah.
And then of all those places, I looked on YouTube at the fans, and I picked the ones that I thought had the most mental, crazy fans, and I landed on the Saints.
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan of the black and gold as well. I wear black pretty much every day at some point, so I was always going to stick as well. But yeah, I kind of, after that, I stuck my flag in the Saints and went with it.
Yeah, good. What sort of year was that?
That probably, I must have only been 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
The year before, when the Saints, was it a divisional game? I can't remember. Right close to the end, they had the catch that was called out. It was a big drama.
Yeah. I remember.
But probably a year before that game, because that was my first full year of being a Saints supporter, I would say.
Okay, yeah. So you weren't technically 2009, was it? They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
so I suppose you're similar to me as a Bears fan, yet to see your team sort of win the big one, although they have won it. I really like the Saints. Like I picked the Bears. I mean, when I have my interview, I'll talk about why I come is, but I remember sort of like maybe like year 2 of watching it and stuff. I remember watching the Saints and Drew Brees. I just absolutely loved him.
Yeah,
just loved watching him play. And he went big that last year. Like I think he pushed Mahomes all the way for MVP. He had like in the year he won the awards for like the most consecutive like passes and touchdowns in or whatever it was. Was it second highest in all those sort of areas? I just loved watching him, and then like I love the unis, like the black and gold. They look smart. Even the rogue ones look really smart. Mm-hmm. And New Orleans is a cool city as well. Like it just looks like it just looks like somewhere you just want to go and like spend some time.
I know. I would love to be down there in that French Quarter and
yeah, absolutely, yeah. It looks amazing. So like I think they're one of those sort of teams. I didn't sort of ever think about changing teams, or whatever. Like, but I was like, I really like Saints. Like, they look cool.
That's it.
So I suppose like you caught the latter years of Drew Brees' career, along with Sean Payton as well. But I suppose they get to like a couple of championship games. You sort of see them get quite close towards the end.
There was
over the ump.
Probably Breeze's very last year, wasn't a great year. The 1 or 2 before that, they were in contention. They were there or thereabouts. But I think given the teams at that time and who was playing well, it was always going to be tough for them. But they were in contention, and that's, as a fan, that's all you can really ask for, really.
Yeah, and what about like since both the pairing have gone? How are you finding watching the Saints now?
Tough, really tough. Especially defensively, we've kind of carried our own, and that's probably won us a lot of the games that we've won since then. Offensively, really struggled. I mean, you look at it and you think if we could have got Thomas back to what he was before, it would be a different story, but he never came back the same. He barely came back at all, to be honest. Obviously, losing Breeze was massive. He was ingrained in there. And we had, that was a year or 2 years till Carr came in. We were kind of flirting with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston and whoever else came in at the time, so it wasn't great. But I think we as a franchise need to get a bit of stability, I think, now, and then start to push forward again. It is a reset time. How quickly that reset is up to the franchise and how they want to go about it. But I think the stability needs to come in before they do anything, really.
Has the ownership changed over the years at all? Or is it still
the same? I'm aware of, no.
Yeah, because I've done a little bit of research, just not to quote loads of numbers and stuff, but just to sort of see about the Saints. And obviously, like Sean Payton was there for 15 seasons, and before that, they weren't massively successful. They had like a long period of kind of just not doing an awful lot. He came in 10 winning seasons within that time, and then paired with Drew Brees, who was there for 15 years. Massively successful. I mean, like 228 games, 68,000 yards, 491 touchdowns in his time there. And so you kind of think, like, as from an ownership, if that hasn't changed, and hopefully they can just try and find the next way, because you feel like they know how to run a franchise for that time. Obviously, they've got a Hall of Famer coach, Hall of Famer quarterback, so that massively helps, of course. But you kind of,
I don't know. I think having 2 people like that are so instrumental to your franchise there for that length of time is actually it's a negative for them now because I don't think they know how to now move on. They've had that for so long; they didn't have to do any of those kind of recruitment and looking at players,
scouting quarterbacks.
You know what I mean? And making those decisions on who is the right guy to lead for. They didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
So I think now they've had those couple of years. They really need to start saying, right, is Alan the guy to take us forward? Is he going to be our next 10-year man or 5-year man, whatever it's going to be? And I think the same for the quarterback. They need to be looking to move up. But I think to do that, you're going to need to tank a season, and we don't want them doing that either at the same time as well.
Trust me, tanking's not fun. Hopefully it works out for you. But I mean, Derek Carr's not a bad quarterback, as he's kind of like a steady Eddie, does the job, but he's not massively exciting. But I like when James Winston was there. I just thought that guy was madman.
He was see him in his mic'd up moments, absolutely brilliant. The guy's
just mental,
honestly. Yeah, it's a shame he's left. I think there was a lot, especially last year. There was a lot come out for the franchise that, although he wasn't playing, it's just having the guy around was amazing for the team and the kind of morale and just the type of person he is and keeping people going was great. And I'm sure he would have pushed Carr as well, but it's a shame to see him going in some respects.
Did you want to have people on your team that you can just root for? Can't you? Can sort of relate to some way, or they make you laugh, or you like their character stuff. Do you have? I know obviously you got Kamara's shirt on there. Do you have a particular? Is he your favourite player, or do you have a favourite player, or?
It was Thomas for those first few years. I don't know. I tend to gravitate towards wide receivers for some reason. It was Thomas. I'm liking Olavi now. I think he's still got a bit of progression to do. Whether he's got that in him, I'm not entirely sure. But he's a solid wide receiver right now, and he done some bits for us last year. Yeah, there's a dog in to say hello. So yeah, I think. Yeah, it was Thomas for a good few years, but he let me down drastically with those injuries and everything else that was going on in the background with him.
Yeah, no, good. Kamara, funny enough, just literally before I come on, I was on Twitter and I see Baldy put something out there, and it was Kamara blocking, picking up a defensive back, streaming in on Drew Brees, and he absolutely nails him. I thought I just love that. Like, if you can get a running back taking some guy out in coverage, it's quality.
Yeah, it's good. Kamara's another one. He's been a fantastic player and he's stuck with us, but you don't know, you kind of get to feel that his best days are by now. Is hanging on with him the right thing? I don't know, but
maybe. So what you hope for this year in the South? Obviously, Falcons doing a few little bits. We talked about them quite a bit on the podcast. Yeah. Panthers, who knows? And then Bucks were pretty decent last year.
Yeah, I think if the Bucks continue with what they had last year, and I think signing Baker again this year for them was massive. I think it's a finished third type of year for us, unfortunately, in that division.
I just don't know what's going to happen with the Panthers as well. I mean, they haven't done loads, have they? But it's interesting. You might want to maybe start tanking halfway through the season. You just know, but then who's there next year, quarterback wise? But
I guess it'll probably depend on the first 4 or 5 weeks of the year. I think if they could, obviously we don't know the schedule yet, but if they could come out with 2 or 3 wins off of that, I think that'll then define how the rest of their season is going to go.
Yeah. I mentioned a little bit of a Bears link, and I only literally come across this now, so I didn't know about this before. But other than us both winning 1 Super Bowls, we met in the NFC Championship game. The last time the Bears got to the Super Bowl, we beat you in that. We didn't obviously win the Super Bowl, but I didn't know that Mike Ditka was the head coach for the Saints back in 1999. And Mike Ditka's obviously like a Bears legend, won the Super Bowl, coaching them, played for the Bears. But he was the guy who was responsible for the Ricky Williams trade, where the Saints literally traded their whole year's draft class and 2 picks in the next year to go take a running back. This Ricky Williams. I don't know much about him at all, but it's before my time. I mean, we spoke quite a bit about trades and stuff on the pod, but that must go down as the most wild trade. Like your whole trade, your whole pick for the full year, and 2 next year for a running back.
What's that? 10 picks total? 10, 11 picks total?
Must be 10 minimum? Picks. When you start with 7, so let's say you take all of them, 2 the next year, so that's 9. And they apparently, Mike Ditka and Rick Williams, they posed in like this sort of mock wedding photo to sort of like celebrate this pick and everything. Any guess on what the record was the following year?
No.
3-13. Mike Ditka gets obviously fired, and I just think that was like, I mean, I don't know obviously Mike Ditka as such. I know a bit about Bears history, and he's a legend, but he was always known as an absolute madman, and that kind of sums up the fact that he's probably responsible for that. But just absolutely crazy. Okay, mate. Just moving on from the Saints, and let's just talk a little bit about some of these answers that you're giving me because I'm quite interested in them. So, you mentioned that you'd be a running back, right? If you could play in the NFL, why a running back?
Oh, I'm kind of small and stocky, and I think I could push my way through that line, and the speed's the worst bit of it. But I'd get through the line and I'd get a good go.
Bit shifty, like quick on the feet, in and out and stuff. What about actually getting nailed by an offline backer, 263-pound geezer just comes steaming at you like you get?
I'd go on the ground greeting right after it, mind you, but I'd get a go. It's either that or a kicker.
Yeah. I'm gonna say long snapper. I'll still be in a safer position. But did you play any sport when you were growing up and stuff? And have you got a bit of a sport background? Or?
So I was football, soccer all my days. Had a couple of opportunities when I was younger, but things didn't work out. Like I say, I moved about a wee bit, so it was hard to keep yourself there, and it was at core times for a football player. Other than that, a little bit of rugby, played a little bit of cricket when I lived in England for a while.
Yeah, good old classic English game.
That's it. But everything. I've always loved my sports, even now when I'm in my later years and the fitness isn't there. I like a wee bit of darts and things like that. So did you get to any sort of particular level at football? Was it like trials for somewhere? Or? Yeah, I had a couple of trials with a few lower league teams at the time, and when I come up here, but other than that, it was just I played a reasonably good schoolboy level, and then went on to amateur after that. I was actually a referee for a couple of years as well.
Oh really? Okay,
I was making my way through that. It was actually very good, but then I didn't drive at the time, and my daughter was just about to be born, and things were becoming a bit much. So it was once something had to give. Yeah,
no, definitely. My lad does a bit of refereeing himself. He's only 14, so he tries to pick the under nines and stuff, like the easy games. But do your kids play any sports or anything? Are you like a soccer dad or anything? Or
it's all girls I've got, so the sports it's been tough for them to get them into. But my youngest, she's recently taken up netball and is going good guns with that. We've actually got our presentation night on Saturday coming up, so
brilliant.
Forward to that. She's had a good first full season. She's made progress, so she's moving. She's 13 just now. She's moving up into the under 15s next year. So
there's some game that netball, similar. Like my daughter tried to get her into it, and she's picked up the sort of last couple of months of the year. Got her into a club down here, which took like 3 years to try and get her into it. And she's got a lot to learn and stuff. But we had a presentation, and they got the parents involved. Had a chance to sort of have a go myself. And mate, that's a hard game, man. That's like fast paced. And I was trying to like mark this girl. Next thing you know, she's gone past me. I'm like, where's she gone? It's an impressive game. Do you go and watch her and stuff then as much as you can?
I've been a couple of times. First one or two, I was trying to understand the game myself. I'd never actually watched it before she played.
Yeah.
So I watched the game and I got the kind of basics. The whole players can only operate in certain parts of the thing. That seems so backwards. That's just backwards knowledge to me. Do you know what I mean? Just go where you need to go and you need to do it. But once I started getting that together, it's a lot easier, and I can help her along now with bits and pieces that she needs to kind of work on, and it's been good. It's been good to have a child that I can pass on these wee bits to.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Especially that footwork as well. That's really important in that, but I think. Yeah. But what about you on the sidelines? Are you are you quite quiet, or you get a bit involved and stuff? Are you going to get pulled out and thrown out, or are you going to be well
behaved? At the current level, I'm quite quiet. I'm more that sit back, watch the game, and pass on my advice when I can. But I think if the level became more competitive, that's when my other side comes out, and I might be the shouty dad then.
We've all been there.
Yep.
So you mentioned like your favourite memories like to date are the fantasy side of things. So I'm really interested because I've never played fantasy before. So I'm looking forward to trying to get involved with the boys this year and stuff. What do you enjoy about that so much? And like, how is it? Is it hard? Is it like I don't know? Like, what's your sort of process for? I suppose
It's
taking that trophy off Lewis that he likes to sort of boast about.
oh well, he's lost his trophy already. He
As
lost
a
last year. He likes to just give it big licks. I was in the final in that league that Lewis was the holder. I was in the final and get beaten in the final this year, unfortunately. The fantasy, it's the same with anything. It's just getting a group of guys that you all know talking about and involved in about something that you all love. It's as simple as that. Do you know what I mean? But it gives you a buy-in, if you know what I mean. So you're essentially doing it like a franchise. You're going drafting your team like any other draft.
Yeah.
And that's your team for the year. You can trade players with other people. And you're obviously playing off their real-time live actions.
Results.
So
Yeah.
your then points all come into it. And that was a good bit for me. I started to obviously be any good at it, you need to understand where your points come from. So when you're applying that logic from the fantasy of how you get your points to the real game, then you start to understand those other sides of the game as well. And how do I put myself in a better place to win more points, essentially? So it helped from that kind of aspect of it. But yeah, like I say, it's just getting a group of people with the same love, all just talking about it. It's like that on a Sunday night when I say 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. You get the game on. I've got the red zone on. I've got the fantasy and the chat on my phone, and that's that's the Sunday for me.
It's all we need. We're quite simple, us guys, aren't we?
That's it. I know. If it's not at the pub.
So what else have we got here then? Did you say a lion? You'd be a lion, right? Describe yourself as a lion, yeah? Go on, why a lion? What's
loyalty a fault, mate?
Loyal, yeah.
That's it. And I've actually got a sleeve tattoo with a lion, and it's with all the cubs for my kids as well. So
okay,
very
good, mate. Very good. So the only other thing I was going to sort of mention was the London Games. Now, have you managed to get yourself down there anyway to the?
I've been
to the
down
games
to one, yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of it? The experience and stuff.
It was half a dozen of us went down, and I loved the weekend, but we were down for the whole weekend. It was tiring, and we were going out and about all over and doing some touristy things, going to different bars, etc., etc. So it was a long weekend, and
cracking on a bit now, mate. You know,
I know that's it. And it probably took away from the kind of, let's call it, match day experience a wee bit. I was done in.
Really, yeah.
Strangely, I had a 40th birthday party away. I'd been away camping for 3 days. I actually had to get my dad to pick me up from the campsite at 6 o'clock in the morning to take me to the airport to fly down and meet the rest of the guys. I was still drunk as a skunk for that 40th weekend. I don't even remember being on the airplane or anything. So I was on the back foot from the start. But I managed to stick it through. And the day was great. It was fantastic. We were at the Tottenham Stadium. Yeah. Unbelievable stadium.
What stadium that is.
And just everything that goes on it just looks apart. And people, I'm sure, have seen the videos with the pitch coming in and out, just rolling in and out, that kind of thing. But yeah, the whole day, and I've been a football sport. I went and watched Scotland games for 20, 25 years nearly. Been to tons. I've been to away games in Europe, things like that. Absolutely loved them, but it was a completely different experience to anything like that. They just had this. I'm not saying that the football was bad, but it just had this unbelievably relaxed ambience to it, even outside the ground, the pubs and everything, and everybody. You could go and literally, you're standing next to somebody waiting on a bus or something, you'd be talking to them about the NFL, whereas the football might not happen like that. It was a completely different experience, but I loved every second of it.
I think the first time I went, I was like, just really impressed with like everybody just gets involved. Like you literally see every single jersey, don't you? Every team's jersey. You see retro ones, you see throwback ones, you see like, and like I was I went with my mate and stuff, and I must have seen like balls on the back of so many different shirts. I didn't realise he played for so many different teams and stuff. And
Yeah.
it was a bit of an eye opener for me because you just don't realise how many different players changed teams from year to year. Like so obviously we're like football fans and stuff, so you have your squad of players and you generally add to that squad of players. But with the NFL, like you can't really get attached to players because they just might not be on the team at all next year. And so many different teams like sign the same players, and that's what stood out for me is that you saw multiple names on the back of shirts for different franchises, and it's just a brilliant,
especially when you get
experience.
to the later ends of their careers. You look at OBG, the now he's in 3 or 4 in the last 3 or 4 years. So
yeah,
it's like we said before, these guys have got to make their money. They've got a very short career span, so they've got to do everything they can to be relevant and make as much money as possible. But yeah, it is strange seeing it all and then having your mind going, why? Oh, I forgot about that, and you start remembering different things. It's different conversations again as well with different people at the same time.
Definitely. I'm really looking forward to seeing who the Bears have got this year down in London. Hopefully, it'll be a good game. No doubt, it'll probably be the Jags. They're not an awful side, but it's just like it's not sexy, are they? The Jags?
I think we're just the only thing the UK is missing out. We've had some really good teams come down, but I think having that star team is just what we're missing for the London games. I think having a Chiefs coming in season, or you know what I mean, a 49ers at the top of their game, and that once we get that, I think that's when it'll start pushing to another level again in the UK.
Because you kind of feel like we do get the bum end of the deals a little bit with some of the games, don't you? Because obviously the Jags are there all the time, but it's like we are missing that sort of big game. I saw in one of the Lewis put something out on TikTok, and someone commented, "Oh, it'd be great if the Lions come and play the Bears," and I'm like, that would be great, but it's just not going to happen. Like, the Bears aren't going to give up a home game in London against a divisional rival when they could be playing at Soldier Field. But
it is hard for them. I mean, from a team's perspective, having to go thousands of miles away and play a game that you could be playing at your own stadium, it's a lot to ask a team to do. I think the Jags are great. Obviously, they've got a set up with the NFL, and it works for them. They make it work. I think
they've got a good record as well. They've got a good record here as well, haven't they?
Yeah. I think they generally come over for the 3 or 4 weeks as well, and that's just based here, so it works for them. But yeah, like I say, from us as a fan perspective, we just need that big one to say, listen, that's it, it's here. We're here to stay for the London games and we'll move forward. Yeah,
definitely. Well, that's everything I wanted to go through, mate. That's been it's been brilliant having a chat to you. Is there anything sort of you wanted to cover at all, or?
No, I'm quite happy sitting here with nasty questions. Enjoying it, and it's been a good wee session.
Good. Well, let's wrap it there. Thanks so much for your time, Danzo. It's been great getting to know you a little bit more. Hopefully, your listeners have enjoyed as well and can just sort of relate to you a little bit more as well, with your fandom. With that, we're going to call it the end of the show. So thanks very much to everybody who's taken the time to sort of listen in the show. And just a reminder to please let us know your thoughts. Give us a like, rate the show, leave us a comment, and of course, check out the socials again at A Bunch of Punts on TikTok and at A Bunch of Punts podcast on Instagram. And me and the boys, we will be back next week with another episode where we're going to be looking into, I suppose, the schedule, isn't it, Danzo? We're planning to talk about early doors. So really looking forward to that one. Thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you.